Welcome to On the Money. My name is Cynthia DeFazio, and I'm joined today by Ryan Wheless and Matt Stevenson of Allied Wealth. Ryan, how are you today?
I am excellent, Cynthia. Any day I sit next to Blade is just a good day.
Otherwise known as Matt.
AKA Matt.
Matt, I got to ask you, where did the nickname come from?
I'll let Ryan tell the story, Cynthia.
Okay, Ryan,
it's really, there's not much to it. Matt he just grows and grows and grows, and he's just such a leader in the organization. We've got 9 financial advisors in the office. He's so integral in coaching and teaching the Allied Wealth method and how we do things and making these advisors better. And he's just sharp. He's just sharp. So I always make a joke that he's so sharp that if you touch him, it'll cut you. So that's why he gets the name Blade.
I love it. I love it. And how long have you had this nickname, Matt?
It's been just the last couple of months, but it's catching on pretty quick.
Oh, okay. He's in my phone now as Blade. Like, hey, Siri, call Blade.
That is awesome. I love that. I love seeing you both in the studio because obviously I know that you've been so incredibly...
Siri's trying to call Blade right now.
No. Are you kidding? You've been so incredibly busy. Obviously, the show is doing so well, and just helping people understand how important it is to plan properly for retirement. Today's segment specifically, at least in this first segment, I'd like to talk a little bit about estate planning and why that's so important. Ryan, why is that such an important thing to be considering?
Man, we've got a doozy.
Yes, we do.
I mean, it is, it's a doozy, Cynthia. The thing about estate planning, folks, is that we often overlook it, or the people we rely on to do it for us overlook very important things. So we have a scenario where a couple was married for about 7 years and they divorced, moved on, all right? The husband remarries and he marries a second bride, and they were married for about 28 years, okay? Husband is doing well with a refinery in Texas, down in Baytown, and he is accumulating money in the 401k, accumulating money in the pension, all right, with a company.
Okay.
And they're getting a pretty good number up there, okay, as far as the amount saved. And he gets ready to retire and drops dead of a heart attack.
Wow.
All right.
Okay.
These folks had done estate planning with an estate planning attorney. They had a trust. They had a will, okay. Well, in the trust and the will, the second wife was deemed to have the money, all right, meaning she inherited the 401k and the pension balance.
Okay.
Guess what the attorneys, the financial advisor involved in the picture, and the husband never took time to do?
Uh-oh.
They never took time to update who the beneficiary was on the pension at the company and the 401k plan at the 401k plan provider. And folks, I've got news for you. The trump card, the thing that will beat what you do with the trust or the will, is what's on that beneficiary form. So, Cynthia, guess who's going to wind up with this man's money?
Wow, the ex-wife.
The ex-wife's going to get all of it.
Oh my gosh. So what happens? Can you fight that in court?
You can try. But this case, there was a case about 15 years ago, a similar scenario that went all the way to the Supreme Court. And the Supreme Court ruled that the trump card is what is on that beneficiary designation form at either the pension plan or the 401k plan. And this poor lady, we don't know what's going to happen. Trying to help her out of the scenario, but the thing is, folks, is she took time to have an estate plan done with a good attorney, what appeared to be a good financial advisor, but nobody took time to make sure all the accounts that were out there were properly designated to go to the trust. All right, they didn't do that. And if you don't do that, the estate planning that you've done is worthless. You might as well not even done it in the first place.
Yeah, Ryan, and that's why one of those very first steps that we take when we bring a new client on board is to make sure that those beneficiaries are set up the right way.
Absolutely.
And that's something that we're going to double check at least once a year, because life changes and we need to make sure that that stays true to form with what they want.
When you think about that as a whole, you're working so long, you're getting into the retirement years, you're planning ahead for what your heirs will receive, if you will. How many people fail to factor in estate planning overall, Ryan? Is that something that's common?
It is very common. I mean, a lot of financial advisors aren't estate planners. You know, estate planning is typically done by an attorney, and so many people don't take time to do it. And if they don't take time to do it, and they leave an unplanned estate behind, the state's got a estate plan for you, and you don't want to go down that road. And there's a lot you can do to prevent that. And sadly, what oftentimes happens too is that if there's no estate planning done properly, the heirs fight. And I've seen it time and time again. Mom and dad die. They've got, 3 kids. two kids are real good with money, one kid's not, and somebody feels like they should get more, should get less. Mom and dad bought you that car, and they didn't buy it for us, so we should take that out of it. And it creates a situation to where, from that point forward, Christmas is going to be awkward.
Absolutely.
Thanksgiving is going to be awkward. Birthdays are going to be awkward. Really what should happen is the money that's left, the assets that are left, should transfer as seamlessly as possible to where you want them to go.
Yeah.
People should understand where it's going to go, how it's going to happen, so that in the end, that your family still talks to each other. They're still friendly. They still love each other. And when Thanksgiving does come around, it's a remembrance of mom and dad, not I got the short end of the stick,
Yeah.
And if you don't take time to plan for your estate, folks, that's exactly what can happen. And as part of what we do at Allied Wealth, is like Matt said, is we want to make sure your beneficiaries are accurate and they reflect the estate planning that you've done. And so many advisors out there miss that opportunity to do so. And we're speaking of a scenario right here where this lady was working with a very big name firm in town, very big, well-known company, nationwide company, and a very well-known estate planning firm.
Yeah.
And this was overlooked. So I don't know what's ultimately going to happen, but it's a pretty scary situation for this lady at the moment, because now all she's got left is with their bank money, which is about $200,000 or $300,000, and Social Security, and that's it.
Yeah, that's heartbreaking. Matt, I have to ask you, if someone's in the viewing audience today and they don't have heirs that they want to leave money to, do they still need estate planning? What is your opinion on that?
Absolutely, Cynthia, because there's always, a plan that we can have in place for what happens to those dollars once your loved ones are gone. And so, whether that's giving to charity or, another purposeful, entity out there, just to make sure
alumni, or your college, or your church, or whatever it is.
Just making sure those dollars are put to use in the best way.
Yeah, and if you don't do that, you die intestate. And if you die intestate, your money's basically just put out there in Neverland forever. We'll never get to where it goes. And folks, you worked hard for it. I mean, if you want to be charitable, make sure that you do have a proper estate plan, even if you don't have heirs. That way, Uncle Sam's not getting your dollars, because they get enough of them already.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Ryan, I know that you and Matt, otherwise known as Blade, have a very special offer to present to the viewers at home. Let's talk about what that is.
Yeah, folks, we know what we do at Allied Wealth is we offer a financial flight plan. And we do that because there's so much that goes into putting an airplane into the sky to get that airplane safely down on the ground at its destination. And I'm a pilot, and I have a very strong aviation background, and I equate financial flight planning to financial planning. And so as part of our financial flight plan, we offer you a risk analysis that helps determine what your risk tolerance is. Again, that's what you think you can lose, versus your risk capacity. That's what you actually can afford to lose and not have a major lifestyle change in your golden years. The next thing we want to do is help you develop an income plan. An income plan allows you to go out into the world and spend money with confidence, even in down markets. Then we want to evaluate your tax situation. What can we do to help you mitigate your tax liability? Because if you can pay less in taxes, you can actually take less risk and have more money for yourself. The next thing we want to do is look at your health care scenario. What are your plans for Medicare? Is there a gap? How do we avoid income-related modified adjustment amounts and excess taxes and Medicare surcharges? And the last thing we want to do is build you a legacy and estate plan. And that's all part of the financial flight plan. But folks, it's not something we just send you in the mail. You have to interact with us. And the way you do that is click the QR code at the bottom of the screen. You can go to onthemoneytv.com, or you can call us at 844-944-7555. Again, 844-944-7555. And we go to work for you. It's interactive. We need you to collect information from you, put all this information into our planning softwares and programs that we use, and spit out what is a comprehensive financial flight plan so that you can go out to the world and spend money in retirement in your golden years with confidence.
Ryan, thank you so much. Matt, thank you so much. To the viewers at home, the phone number to call is on your screen. That number is 844-944-7555. We know you have a lot of questions about how to plan your perfect retirement, how to get your financial flight plan, if you will. All you have to do is take advantage of calling in today to 844-944-7555. We're going to take a very short commercial break, but don't go anywhere. When we come back, we're going to talk about IRAs, so please stay tuned.
As a good saver, you've been putting away money during your working years. Studies find that the biggest fear of retirees is running out of money. Market volatility isn't just the downward movement of stock prices, it's the size and frequency of change. The more dramatic the ups and downs, the higher the volatility. This can put savers who are newly retired or a few years away from being retired at greater risk. Today's generation of retirees is not receiving traditional pensions as our parents or grandparents did. Instead, we have retirement accounts such as 401ks or 403bs. These accounts typically expose your money to market risk. The last thing you want right before retirement is to lose a portion of the money you need for income. But how do you turn these accounts into a retirement income? Is it safe to keep all your retirement money sitting in the stock market? The last thing you want is to lose a portion of the money you need for income due to market loss. By working with a financial professional, you can learn how to turn a portion of your savings into an income stream for life and income for the life of your spouse if you're married. We all have moments in our lives when we wish we had taken action sooner. Don't let procrastination reign on your retirement parade. Act now before it's too late. Please call our office to set up your no-cost, no-obligation retirement income review today.
And welcome back to On the Money. My name is Cynthia DeFazio, and I'm joined today by Ryan Wheless and Matt Stevenson of Allied Wealth. Gentlemen, a wonderful show we're having today, talking again about such an important topic, planning properly for retirement. This segment, I'd like to talk a little bit about IRAs. And Matt, really, people are working their entire lives and they're saving and they're watching that nest egg grow higher and higher. Let's talk about IRAs in retirement. What happens when it's time to start taking distributions, if you will?
Yes, Cynthia. So this is one of the most important things that we plan around, because once you get to age 72, you have something called required minimum distributions. Basically, all those pre-tax dollars in your IRAs, your 401ks that you've saved away all those working years, now Uncle Sam wants their fair share, or what they believe is their fair share, all right? So we have to start taking those dollars out, and for a lot of the folks that we work with that have done very well in planning for their retirement future, that can add up to a pretty penny as far as what those dollars look like that we have to take out.
Absolutely. Ryan, so obviously tax planning when it comes to required minimum distributions, how does that go hand in hand?
It is so important, Cynthia. I mean, if you think about this, we have a couple, they came in, they had $3 million, and they retired at 60.
Okay.
They're now 67 and 68, and their Social Security income is around $80,000 a year. And they took it at full retirement age, and they need about $70,000 a year out of their portfolio, all right? And so that's $150,000 a year in income. And they are totally happy with $150,000 a year in income. And they were quite happy with their financial advisor, by the way, all right? But we asked them the important question of, do you have enough confidence in your current financial plan or financial advisor to seek a second opinion? They called the show and they came in, all right?
Okay.
Which we invite you to do the same, folks. So to that end, what we found out is we said, okay, what kind of tax planning have you guys done? Because the composition of your accounts is all IRAs. Right?
Yeah.
And every dollar that comes out of an IRA is 100% taxable. So what we discovered is their IRAs, based on what they're taking out when they started retiring at 60, will grow to about $5.5 million by the time they're 72.
Wow.
That equals an over $200,000 required mandatory distribution that must come out of their accounts.
Wow.
Yes, that's a lot of money. And keep in mind, they're only taking $70,000 a year out of their IRAs right now because they only need $150,000 a year in income, and they've got $80,000 from Social Security. So it's mind-boggling to me, because had we met these folks at 60 when they retired, we would have put them on a tax plan to help start getting money out of those IRAs via Roth IRA conversions and help mitigate that long-term tax liability. But here's the next thing that happens. They put their kids through college. Both their kids are doing very well. Mom and dad don't spend a lot of money. So guess what winds up happening here is that when mom and dad pass on, these kids are going to inherit the IRAs, all right? So under the new Secure Act laws, the kids have 10 years to liquidate the IRAs.
Wow.
So now the mom and dad are going to dump this massive amount of IRA money on top of their kids' income that are making $250,000, $300,000 a year, and they've got to take those distributions over a 10-year period.
Oh my gosh,
so
the taxes.
it is just like a tax time bomb.
Absolutely.
And it was like, used to be in the old days, like, hey, mom and dad left me a couple $1 million. Awesome, thanks, mom and dad. But now it's like, mom, dad, what did you guys do to me?
Well, to add to the ticking tax time bomb conversation, really where we are right now as far as our current tax brackets are the lowest we've ever had in our nation's history.
Wow.
So not only are they going to be forced to take out over $200,000 in those forced distributions in their 70s, but it's entirely likely that tax rates are going to be significantly higher when they are forced to make those distributions, and that just compounds the issue even more.
And then to that end, Matt, I mean, one of the most punitive things about the U.S. tax code is that the wife statistically is going to outlive the husband in this scenario. So when the husband dies, the wife can file a joint tax return under joint tax rates for 1 year. After that, she's got to file a single tax return. And that puts her into a whole nother level of taxation.
Absolutely.
All right, so it's very punitive that the tax code is written that way. And guess what? She still has to take RMDs too. And the RMDs go up every year, get bigger and bigger and bigger, and it's a massive tax time bomb. And had these folks come to see us when they retired, this is one of the first things we would have done with them and said, look, the composition of your accounts is made up in a manner that all your money's in IRAs. So we have got to go to work doing some tax planning for you now, because if we don't, Uncle Sam's going to get a lot more of your money than he should, and you're going to wind up with a lot less of it.
Wow.
And here's a great example of the holistic planning that we do, also tied to their Social Security benefits, because they started claiming their benefits at full retirement age at 67. Had they waited a few additional years and had they started that tax planning at 59 and a half, when they were able to start converting those dollars, well, that would not only reduce the tax implications on the nest egg, but now it's going to push their tax bracket into a much higher level, and they're going to pay all that on their Social Security benefits at the highest marginal tax rate. So it really compounds the issue in all ways.
Absolutely. So when is a good time to start tax planning?
Now.
Now.
Right now.
Absolutely now.
And so to that end, we're helping these folks, but the impact of what we're able to do for them is going to be a lot less than had we got to them a lot sooner.
Yeah.
And so the time to start tax planning is now. If your composition of accounts is nothing but IRAs, you need to have some Roth money, you need to have some bank money and some outside retirement account money, and start building that right away. Because if you don't, you're going to be in a situation to where every dollar that comes out of your IRAs and 401ks and pensions is 100% taxable. And man, you're just going to wind up paying so much more. And we feel, it's interesting because we feel rich based on our account balances. Well, to me, it's a fallacy, because if I have a $3 million IRA, how much is mine? Not all of it.
Right.
Because I've got a business partner in there, and they're bad business partners.
Uncle Sam.
They're bad business partners. They are not good with money at all. And that's not political, folks. It's fact, right?
Yeah.
And so to that end, I have to, if I took all that IRA out at one time, I'm going to pay like 30% at least in taxes, right? So if I've got a $3 million IRA, I just paid $900 grand. So I'm looking at my account balances going, well, I've got $3 million. The reality is, you don't, right? Because $900,000 belongs to Uncle Sam. So if I can help pull Uncle Sam out of the picture, all right, more and more and more, I can help you your dollars go a lot further in retirement, and I can help you take less risk, folks. So as part of what we do, the financial flight plan, we go to work for you, folks. The first thing we're going to do is look at your risk capacity, and that's how much money can you afford to lose in the down market and still maintain your lifestyle. That's different than risk tolerance, by the way. The next thing we're going to do is build an income plan for you. That income plan is going to be designed to help you go out into retirement, even when the guy on the 9 o'clock news is screaming at you that the world's going to blow up tomorrow. And you can go out there in retirement and spend money with confidence. And that's it's just a huge thing. The next thing we do is we look at your overall health care scenario. What does that look like? The next thing we're going to do is build you an investment plan that meets your risk capacity numbers. And then lastly, a legacy plan, because you do not want to have leave an unplanned estate behind. The reason why you don't want to do that, folks, is you can tear apart even the strongest of family units, and I've seen it happen so many times. So please don't be that person. Pick up the phone and call us, 844-944-7555. Click the QR code. We all know what QR codes now. We've all gone through COVID. Every menu in the world is now a QR code, right? So we've got a QR code for you on the bottom of the screen. You can go check us out at onthemoneytv.com. And lastly, folks, coming up at the break, you're going to see a commercial. It's very, very near and dear to Matt and I and our company, Allied Wealth. It's in support of the Mighty Oaks Warriors program. You may not know this fact. Cynthia actually didn't know this, but we have 20 soldiers a day commit suicide right here in the United States soil as a direct result of what they're experiencing from post-traumatic stress disorder. The Mighty Oaks Warrior program is the only faith-based program out there approved by the military to help these soldiers get back on the right path, become pillars in their community, and help other soldiers even fight PTSD. So we're avid supporters of the program, folks. Please enjoy the commercial, and please support the Mighty Oaks Warrior programs.
Ryan, thank you so much. Matt, thank you so much. To the viewers at home, the phone number to call is on your screen. That number is 844-944-7555. We'll be right back after this very important and very special video message.
Many of our veterans feel they need to fight their battles alone. This self-isolation has led to the staggering statistic of more than 20 veterans taking their lives every day. The mission of Mighty Oaks is to eradicate the veteran suicide epidemic and help our warriors change their legacies. We've been able to help over 4,000 veterans and first responders by equipping them with the tools they need to live the lives they were created to live. Our faith-based, peer-to-peer approach has one of the highest success rates of any program available today, offering hope and understanding to those who need it most. By aligning their lives to biblical principles, these men and women are able to lead their families, their communities, and our nation. It's your generosity that can make a difference in the lives of the men and women who have fought for our country and our freedoms. Now that they're home, don't let them fight alone. Learn more at mightyoaksprograms.org.
And welcome back to On the Money. My name is Cynthia DeFazio, and I'm joined today by Ryan Wheless and also Matt Stevenson of Allied Wealth. Gentlemen, that video message is so incredibly important and special. So thank you so much for the work that you do for the foundation, but also letting us share it on air. It's very touching, so thank you so much.
It is our absolute pleasure, and it's a great program. And please, folks, I invite you to support it and understand what it means, because we live in the greatest country in the world. We live here because of the great men and women who have fought and died for our country, and the great men and women who continue to serve our country.
Absolutely. I couldn't agree more. Well, gentlemen, this part of the segment, I'd love to talk to you a little bit about newsproofing your portfolio, because obviously there's so much scary news out there. So, Matt, what do you do? How do you newsproof?
Well, one of the biggest...
He cuts through the BS because he's Blade.
I love it.
There we go. One of the biggest ways to newsproof your portfolio is we have to take all the white noise out of the equation, because there's so much going on around us. Geopolitical events, we've got sky-high inflation, what's going to happen with interest rates. It's mind-boggling, you know, all these different pieces of information. You have to tune that out to a certain respect and focus on how to build your plan the proper way. And that's why what we do, which is, you know, rules and mathematics based, is so important to make sure that you stay on the right track no matter what's happening around us.
Hey, we've got a client, and I love this guy dearly, and he's going to watch the show and probably say, "You were talking about me, weren't you?" And I'm like, "Yes, I was." And so the thing is that the client calls me up. It's like, "Okay, so what's going to happen in the stock market?" And I'm like, "Listen, the market's going to go up, the market's going to go sideways, and the market's going to go down. And I absolutely guarantee it's going to do that." He's like, "Well, what about in the short term or near term?" Like, I really don't care. And the reason why I can say that is I do care what happens to my clients' portfolios and their values, but we don't care about what happens because we focus on mathematics. Right? Because I always know that 1 + 1 = 2, 2 + 2 = 4, and 4 + 4 always equals 8. And so it's one of those things where if I know that and I can rely on that, I don't have to worry about what the guy on the 9 o'clock news is screaming at me about, that, you know, we've got wars going on in the world and inflation and all this kind of stuff, and that's impacting the markets, because I can rely on mathematics. And I can do that to attune to about a 70% accuracy to the upside and about a 30 to 40% accuracy to the downside. And we've been able to do that quite well. Matt helps me run the portfolios at Allied Wealth, and he's very good at it. But it's just one of those things where if you understand that, you can newsproof your portfolio. And I love it when people come in and go, "What do you think's going to happen with the stock market?" I'm like, I don't really care, because we focus on math here. And folks at home, I know you're going, "This guy's a financial advisor and he's telling me he doesn't care what happens to the stock market." I do care about what happens to your portfolios, but because the way we design our portfolios and algorithms, we rely more on those than we do news-driven events.
Absolutely, and that's what it comes down to, obviously, because you're providing peace of mind to your clients, because you're not getting caught up in all of the drama and the world's falling apart. You're staying the course, and you're building in the guardrails, if you will, to make sure that people are okay. Correct, Matt?
Absolutely, Cynthia, and that's why it's so important to get that second opinion and make sure that you're properly positioned no matter what the market is doing around us. And it really, comes back to the conversation around getting that consistent set of expectations with what your portfolio should do. But more importantly than that, the level of income that's going to provide you the next 20 or 30 years. Because if we're tracking alongside the market through all these wild roller coaster events, it can create a lot of variability, not only in the nest egg, but that's directly going to affect your cash flow.
Bert and Mary that just came in.
Exactly.
Came in with $1.8 million, right? And they were trying to figure out how the most money they could generate with their portfolio. But Bert's this old school, you got to buy and hold the market, and you just buy and hold, and you don't change it. You just leave it alone and rebalance it once or twice a year. And I'm like, okay, I tell you what. Let's look at what your portfolio will produce in a passively managed portfolio versus a mathematically managed portfolio. Now let's take a look. And what we found is that his portfolio would produce $115,000 a year in income a year in a tactically, mathematically managed portfolio, while his passive portfolio would produce $94,000 a year in income. So $21,000 more a year in income using mathematics than the old buy and hold, just buy and hold approach. And this guy was just stubborn as could be and had to be the buy and the hold guy. And I finally asked his wife, I'm like, Mary, I'm just curious. Would you want to have $94,000 a year in retirement or $114,000 or $115,000 a year in retirement, which is $21,000 more a year in retirement? She goes, well, Ryan, that's a pretty obvious answer. And I'm like, well, I need you to help me to convince Bert here.
Yeah, absolutely.
And we're still working on it.
I was going to say, how'd that go?
We're getting close. The old saying, folks, is that a man convinced against his will is of the same opinion still, right? And so many people follow this conventional financial wisdom that's been out there for so long, and it's antiquated, it's outdated, it really no longer applies. But if that's what you grew up with, and that's what's in your head, it's oftentimes difficult to embrace new things.
Yeah.
And that's why, mathematically we've proven that, our approach is going to be better for them. And I do ultimately believe they do come around, and they're going to get that extra $21,000 a year to go.
It takes some people a little bit longer than others.
It does. Some people just don't believe it. They're like, Jack Bogle said buy and hold. That's what I've done all these years. And, you've heard me talk about this over and over again, Cynthia, about how the stock market went up 1,000% from 1980 to the year 1999. And in that time period, buy and hold couldn't be beat.
Yeah.
But now, that's changed quite a bit. And when you start having the ups and downs, the market cycles that we're having right now, buy and hold investing can really hurt you, folks. So if you're somebody who worries about that stuff, you're somebody who worries about taking too much risk and wiping yourself out in a major market downturn, pick up the phone and call us. The number is 844-944-7555. Click the QR code. If you're somebody who has enough confidence in their advisor and their plan to seek a second opinion, go to onthemoneytv.com. Click the QR code 844-944-7555.
Ryan, Matt, thank you so much. To the viewers at home, most specifically, thank you for spending time with us. Be safe, be happy, be blessed. We'll see you back 1 week from today.